I'm live.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
How about you? How was it going?
Good. How's everyone doing?
We're doing good.
Okay.
1,000 out of 10.
I'm not good at this, but we're back again with another another collab. Yeah, we're gonna be playing some REPO today. Yep.
Fresh out of the streets of Episagaoka, and it's this booby monster.
True, most of us have been playing Silent Hill F, so it's a nice little change.
Yes, it is.
So a different kind of horror.
Yeah. And it's something that's not going to hit the nausea button every time.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. I can't stress how much we hate Jinko so much.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh my god.
Reading through her notes and what seems to be her inner thoughts internalized. Wait, what?
That was Rinko.
Yeah, Rinko.
Yeah, Rinko.
Yeah, Rinko, yeah. You're right.
Wait, was it Jinko, Rinko?
Junko's like the sister, right? And then Rinko is the
Junko.
friend.
Okay.
Junko's
Yeah.
the sister.
Yeah.
I see, that makes sense.
Yeah, no, Rinko. Yeah, I don't like Rinko. I want to elbow her off a cliff.
Yeah.
Down some stairs.
Yeah.
Put her in the cock chair. Make her watch.
Yeah.
Seriously.
But yeah. I think we need to let go of Shu next. I don't know if you got far in that.
Oh yeah. Maybe. Wait. I finished the middle school section.
The middle school section?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're not in the dark world yet?
Wait, the what world? Dark world?
Yeah, the dark shrine. Where you meet the fox mask?
Oh, I already met the handsome fox mask. I did meet him twice. Yes, he's very hot. Yes.
Okay, and then he starts saying something
We know what
about
Fru was
like
paying attention to.
That's all I care about. But see, Silent Hill. When I played Silent Hill 2, all I cared about was Dorito Daddy, and then now it's the fox guy. So.
She's got her priorities straight. She knows what she's in for.
Of course, Dorito Daddy.
Oh! Okay, that makes sense.
He's very important to me in my life. He's like second to Jack Krauser.
Damn, that's high praise.
Yeah.
Holy crud.
Yes. Buff
I
man.
almost forgot about Pyramid Head, I'm not gonna lie.
No, he was forgotten. It's okay. I was lucky wishing for like a Pyramid Head like cameo in Silent Hill F. I don't think there's one.
Dude, that's the secret alternate ending.
Oh,
Oh
I
my
wish. You get kidnapped by Pyramid Head and you have a lovely wedding and live happily ever after.
I did hear that there are like multiple endings. Like
Yeah.
also like joke endings too.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've
Silent
heard
Hill
that.
2 has like
Stable.
7 endings or something like that.
Yeah, Silent Hill 2 is crazy. There's a lot of endings.
There's a dog ending.
The dog
Dude, that should be the canon ending.
Yeah. Dog at the middle of the controls. Dog behind the curtain!
That's so funny.
Also, I hope, am I reverberating off of TV?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's because we're in the same room.
Yeah, that's what I thought, yeah.
Hello. How are you?
It's okay. Once we get in the game, it should be alright, I
It'll be
think.
fine, yeah.
Okay.
It's funny
Yeah,
because
it's fine.
whenever
It's not
like
super bad.
one of you guys die, the other one is like we can still hear the other one. So it's like the ghost of the one that died. It's so silly. Ooh. Yep.
Dude, it's perfectly spooky scary. It
True.
just works.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
Spooky.
Dude, they send shivers up my spine.
Indeed. God,
I
what's your
don't
favorite Halloween movie?
Oh.
I don't know.
I haven't watched a lot. I watched that.
It could be like. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, and the only one I really remember is I watched like that one. I forget the title, but it's like the house. The house is like alive, and there's like
Monster
a
House.
Oh yeah, that one.
Monster House.
Yeah, I watched that
That's
one a
good
lot.
one.
What about you
That
guys?
was a very good one. Good question.
God. I never
There's
saw the
there's
title
so
of this.
many.
There is
It's
a
hard
lot.
to pick just one.
Yeah.
Conjuring.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay, good choice.
Yeah, that is always a staple for me. In fact, every time I watch it, it always gives me the creeps.
Mm-hmm. True. I need
And
to
of course,
watch.
there's like
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just saying. I also got Annabelle Comes Home on Amazon, and I was watching that recently too.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. I need to watch more of those like actually scary ones, not Monster House. I need to watch the real scary movies. I think
so staple.
You reminded me of something. There was a movie I watched as a kid called Scary Godmother.
Oh, I was thinking of that one too. That one was so cute though.
I got to get her autograph. It was cool.
Wow, that's so cool. I remember that. It was really cute. The only thing that creeped me out was like the vampire family. I don't know. They they kind of creep me out sometimes, but I think it's just the way they made the characters. But personality wise, they're fine.
The little boy was okay.
Yeah.
He was just embarrassed by his dad a lot.
Yeah. I remember now. Yeah, those are good ones.
The Addams Family is good.
Yeah, Addams Family's good too.
Oh, the Addams Family.
That is a classic. I strive to be like Morticia. I want to be cool like that.
Yes.
Wait, did Gunther say his favorite Halloween movie yet?
I don't know. I do really like the original Saw.
Oh,
I didn't
yes.
watch it.
Like they've made like 100 of them now, but I feel like I tend to go back to watching the first one.
I know that the 10th Saw movie is actually really good.
Is it? I don't even think I've seen that one. I think I saw the first like 3, and then I was like, you know what? That's probably enough.
Yeah, because they had Saw up to what was it? Up to 7. Like it was a 3D experience.
How are you?
And then they had spin-offs.
I've never watched it. I'll need to watch it.
What was the scariest horror movie that left an impression on you all? That would be Conjuring.
Definitely that.
Yes.
Oh.
That gave me nightmares for days.
I don't remember what it was called. I'm sure it was a terrible movie, but I remember watching some horror movie that was just on TV at like 3 a.m. at my friend's house when we were kids. And it was like, it might have been called like, Are You Scared Yet? Or something like that. I think that might be.
Are You Afraid of the Dark?
Oh, did you not hear Fred?
It was like, it was similar to Saw in concept, where it's like these people were all, I think they like signed up for like a game show or something, and they had to say their like whatever their biggest fear was, and then they were put in like horrifying challenges that made them face their fears in
Fear
like
Factor?
no, because it was like extreme and lethal ways. It was just like
Oh.
Like there was one. It was like this guy didn't know what to say, so he was like, "I'm afraid of the dark," and he was trapped in a room that was pitch black with like bear traps on the ground.
Oh
he had,
my
like,
god.
Oh.
He had like a switch to turn on lights, but the lights were so bright they burned him.
Oh.
I'm sure if I watched it again, the movie was like low quality garbage. But as a kid, I was like, this shit's scary, dude.
That sounds scary. What the heck?
We love watching Fear Factor. Me and my dad before.
Hmm.
Wasn't there also one with like a whole bunch of spiders?
Oh nope, couldn't do it. Not me. Nope. I don't want the. I don't. Whatever the prize is, don't want it.
Thank you for the follow. Welcome.
Not more than spiders.
Thank you for the follow.
I'm not good with the spiders either.
Yeah. I know I'm a scariest one, but all I know is when I was a kid, before I understood English or anything, I was scared of Harry Potter movies.
Really?
Yeah! They're kind of... Don't you think they're kind of scary sometimes?
They definitely have like there's definitely like horror aspects to them, and some of the creatures and stuff like
Yeah.
definitely like that when they have like the ogre walking through the halls and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or like when that one professor takes his like head like wrapping off, and then there's like a freaking face on his head.
Yeah.
Oh gosh. That was scary.
Yeah, that's definitely horror.
Yeah, that's the only
You don't
one.
get that kind of horror in kids movies today.
Yeah. That was traumatic.
Sometimes you need to have that kind of horror in kids movies because
Yeah.
I don't know, like it teaches kids fear.
Yeah,
It's like-
I think it enhances the experience. Like it makes it more impressionable. And now there's definitely some kids that have like way too negative reaction to it.
Yeah.
But that's like I think that comes down to like the parents have to be like aware of what their kid can handle.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah. I mean, example, have you ever seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit?
Yeah.
You remember the big reveal with Judge Doom about how he was a tune?
Yeah.
Apparently that scared a lot of kids back then in the day.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, like I guess I could kind of see it, but like I don't think it was meant to be specifically super scary.
Yeah.
Mm-mm-mm.
But
Even still, it did tickle their scared bone instead of their funny bone.
yeah.
If that's the way how to say it.
Yeah. Well, are you guys ready?
Yes.
Yes.
Ready
we
to
are.
play? All right. I guess we'll play. But yeah, I was thinking just now. Are there like mods for this game?
Oh, yeah.
Do
Pretty
people
sure.
usually use mods? Oh shoot, I'm sorry. Maybe I should have used the modded one, but this is just regular.
Oh no, Vanilla's fine.
Okay.
The game's still really good in Vanilla.
Yeah. I was thinking about it. I was like, wait, I think this game is mods on. It's okay. We'll just play in vanilla this time. All right. Start game.
This doesn't work for controllers, right?
I'm not sure.
I don't think so.
Okay.
You might be able to play with controller. I've never tried.
There are mods for repo. Okay.
Head and manner.
That is true. Mods could cause problems. That is true. Alrighty.
You guys ready to get rich?
Let me turn off my.
Yeah.
Hold up.
Filthy rich, rolling in gold, Scrooge McDuck style.
What is the first thing you guys will do when you get rich? Or like win the lottery or something?
Find the most expensive venue and marry Kimi in it.
Aww, so cute! That is actually so sweet.
That's the most expensive.
Hey.
What? There's a lot of them.
wait,
Oh
wait.
shoot!
Something's lifting me! Something's me!
I just left them in the dust. Don't mind me.
I've heard.
Dude, there's 2 aliens.
There was 2 aliens?
There was 2. There was another one in the other room. Down like I don't even know which room. Is he okay?
Hey, one of them is at least.
Yes, please clip. If you see anything, clip. I love looking at clips after stream. It's very fun.
Okay, good news, bad news. Good news.
Okay.
The alien killed the duck. Bad news, it also killed Kimmy and Cass.
No. All right.
Oh, and also bad news, the alien's still here. Oh, it got me for it's up to you.
Uh-oh. Did I just leave Gunther to die? Oh, I hear Gunther still. Oh.
Hi.
Hi.
It only did 50% of my health. I thought it would kill me. Alright, so
Oh shoot. How did it kill Kimmy and Cass? Oh no.
there might have been they might have gotten caught by that second alien.
Oh shoot, that is true. Oh, go back. Sorry.
Alright, that's my fault. That's my fault.
No, it's my fault.
Let's see. Is that alien still skulking about in here? Hello. Hi. Sorry you guys got like farmed 4 seconds into the round.
It's here. Oh man, I didn't know I could go that low. So she left them in the dust. Well, I did leave 2 of them in the dust. They did get farmed. I think Gunther got farmed too. I think Gunther might be dead. There's no way. There's no way. Should we just start over? This is a horrible start. How the heck? This is only our first game. No, I don't want to do this. This is not fair. This is no fun. I'll still try. I mean, maybe I can get 5,000. I gotta stay quiet. I gotta lock in. Gotta lock. In. Uno momento. For the water. Oh my god, you guys, there's no one.
Oh my god.
Survivor syndrome. Hi, welcome back. They're coming though. They're coming. There's a duck and an alien coming.
Then we should probably leave.
Yeah, we should leave. Let's go. I thought about quitting for a second, but I was like, no. I have to do this.
Go, 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 go.
Oh.
Is it starting? Are we going? Okay. Oh god.
Hold me! I was just trying to help you out.
The duck.
Hopefully it didn't kill you in time.
Please. Oh, thank goodness.
Perfect.
Oh my god.
Yeah, survivor syndrome. I don't know. Yeah, I'm always last survivor. That was brutal though. We got in there and there was immediately 2 aliens. That's just...
Let's get health packs.
That's not fair.
At one point, there was even a
you
third
probably
alien in there.
not, actually.
Really? Oh,
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. I was just like, there was 2 on one side. I went around the corner and went, oh, there's a third.
Oh, shoot. Dang.
I completely forgot the controls.
Oh, trying to.
Okay.
You got it?
Kind of? How do I tumble?
Tab.
Control?
You run and then you control? Like this?
Control.
Oh, it is control. Tab is the map.
Okay.
Do...
What?
But this one.
What do we need? Energy crystal. I'm afraid. No.
Alright, upgrade.
Crouch rest.
There it is.
Stamina.
Are they coming out with an upgrade on... Not upgrade, update on this game sometime soon? I've heard rumors.
I think pretty soon they're gonna be around Halloween. I think there's planned an update that adds new monsters.
Ooh, okay, that'll be
Ooh.
fun.
That'll be fun.
Good stuff. Halloween.
Good, glad you came back.
Oh,
Mm.
Photon Blaster!
I'm sad there's no
Oh,
toilet.
it's a little
What
expensive.
if I have to take a dump? Where do I take a dump? In this corner?
For some reason, it won't allow me to pick it up for too long. What's going on?
I'm just sad there's no bathroom.
Oh,
I'm taking a dump in this corner.
Perfect.
don't do it.
Sorry, I'm ruining your privacy. Don't worry, I got you. I'll close the door.
Okay, thank you, thank you.
It's good.
No worries.
Yeah, you don't want to be in here.
You guys.
I promise. I'm a robot? Do you need the toilet? I'm not a robot, I'm a fruit. I'm a fruit robot.
I mean, I'm more than willing to try. Okay? I'm not above a little thievery.
I mean, just look at how this baby fires.
Ooh!
It is fun.
Right?
Oh, what are you doing? Why are you
This
pointing
is
at?
versus aliens. No question.
What a small health pack is 3,000? For someone?
I'm full health, so I don't need anything.
I'm actually at 1 health.
So,
Oh.
that duck did a number on you.
Yeah, he did.
Well,
Oh.
I'm good. I'm good. I need a small one.
Okay, I'll take the
Robot,
medium
yes.
one right
I
behind.
am full robot.
Okay. Yeah, it'll work.
Ow.
Would that be enough?
Yeah.
What is this anyway? Ah!
Ow.
What did
I
you do?
would
What
zap
happened?
you. Wait, how do
No,
I...
it's fine.
Wait. Ah!
Ow.
Oh no!
Oh no!
Ah! Ah!
No.
Ah!
Hey! Nope, 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 nope,
All right,
nope,
you're going in here.
nope,
No!
nope.
Don't worry, I'll put you on the top shelf.
Okay.
Ah! Not everybody got oh zappy. Fair and square.
No worries. Perfect.
Okay, I'm gonna go and purchase these.
Well, what the? I was like,
Alright.
that box is moving up there. They're perfectly box colored too.
There's a weed.
Ah!
That's not
It's
so
okay,
fun
it's
on the
fair,
other
it's
side.
fair. It's fair. You can hit me as much as you want.
Alright.
Alright,
the
so we
price
buy
go
stuff.
down?
The price
Did
go
the price
down?
go down?
No, I think that was the same price.
Broad zap. Oh, this is different.
What if we
What is
just
this?
put it in our ship and see what happens?
Yeah.
I didn't know it
got
was gonna
this.
zap.
Oh. That's so volatile.
No.
No.
Okay, we ready?
Yes.
Alright.
I'm pretty sure that we have to like hit a certain button after you steal.
Mm.
Noise.
There we go.
Okay.
1 HP in a dream, true.
The 1 HP in a dream. That's all you need.
That's all you need. I mean, you're still alive, even if it's 1
Oh, yeah.
HP.
The only important one is the last one.
Did it work on me? I don't know.
You have to hold it and then press E.
I did.
Are you sure?
Oh,
But it's not disappearing.
You have to hold it up.
Ah,
Then press E.
I am.
What?
Oh, it worked.
Oh, now that was so delayed.
5 business days. It's okay.
Need health on demand, not here. Not in repo.
Okay.
Oh wait, why can't I move now?
Can't move now?
Give me I can't move now.
Oh no. Wah, 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 wah. Wah, 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 wah.
Mechanic station?
Worry.
Oh no.
Janic station?
And you walk-
I still can't move.
You're
I'm
Uh-oh.
walking
backwards.
backwards.
Did this
Is it
happen in the Backrooms game too? Where you could only move
no.
backwards?
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Get me out of here.
Just gotta
Did you glitch?
moonwalk your way through this
I
place.
can't even. I'm not even.
Wait,
going
give
backwards.
me. Crouch. No, like fold yourself. Fold yourself into like travel size. I want to try something.
How do I make myself travel size?
I forget to actually. How do you do it? I know there's a way.
There's like a.
Oh, I can move now.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, you good?
Yay!
Oh. Nice. Just gotta hit it really hard a few times. Your controller.
It's like with the old TVs. You just gotta whack it a couple times.
Yeah. Whack it a couple times. Put some spin on it. Should be good. Alright.
That is some old school remedies.
Ooh, there's... What is this? I might need help with this. Oop. Yeah, I definitely need help. I don't want to mess it up. Maybe there's something smaller. What is this? A bonsai. Oh, only $900. It's worth more than that.
Where's the cart?
I think I'm backing into it.
Yes. Here, lift it up.
Perfect.
Ah,
Perfect. There we go.
Nice.
we already reached
Oh,
our
nice
goal.
bonsai tray.
We did. Thank you, thank you.
Right.
There's a couple more things. I'll go grab it.
That looks like everything in this room.
Yes.
Mm. Oh god.
Oh, there's one of those face things.
Wait, what?
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
Oh no!
What happened?
Hi.
Hi, yes.
Ah!
Ooh!
Oh no!
Doomed. なんでもnot fit. Maybe it will fit.
Oh no! Jimmy, no!
Jimmy, no!
Look at this, what is that?
Oh! I'm gonna turn on the
Gotta
body.
go stand in the corner of shame. Sorry. Oh. Oh no. What is this? VHS tape. Analog horror time? Is this a VHS tape? Is this a cartridge? Might be a cartridge.
Oh god, oh god, oh god.
Oh god, it's after me. Is it? No.
Oh, sorry.
After somebody.
That's my fault.
You wanna turn it in?
This right over here. I'm missing something. Oh, you got it.
He's a fan. Yeah, this is getting pretty full. We should probably
Yeah,
take
we
this
should
back to
probably
the
take
first
it.
extract.
Yeah, let's haul it back.
Don't let anything fall. Ah!
Oh
Oh, oh nice catch. Oh, yeah.
Alright, I'll just carry this one.
Yeah, carry
Put
that.
it-
You want to put the propane first and then the cart.
Oh!
Watch
Watch out!
Oh.
Oh, fuck me.
Retreat. Did you get gas?
No, where's this?
Right here, right here. Wait, where'd he go?
I'm probably
there he
stuck
is.
inside of.
You're
Yeah,
stuck.
right there.
Stuck.
Am I stuck?
You're
No.
stuck. Wait. I got him, I got him, I got him.
You got me.
I just find you out.
Yay. All right.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Oh, thank God.
But the RNG
That was
was.
a
Awesome, man.
It was
Yeah.
horrible last time.
Yeah.
That's like ridiculous.
We did it.
Yeah.
I
Ow.
got
Yippee!
Yay.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Welcome back.
our money.
How's your day?
Oh
Oh
It's
my
going good.
god,
How are
we're
you,
back
Dragon?
again.
Thanks for coming, Dragon. How are you?
I stole a little bit.
Oh no.
Ah, it's okay.
Nice.
Alright, now we just gotta find the second extract.
Which would be. No, that's not it. I got it.
Gotta be somewhere up here.
Okay, don't notice me.
It's the X route. Nice. Great clips were made out of the story. Thank you, Nevis. Thank you for the clips. There's some silly moments already. This game is intense. I forgot how intense it was. Oh.
There's like 10 items in this room. Quite literally. I got a fast
I already relit everything in there. It is intense. I forgot. I forgot. I wish I could play the update though. But I'll be gone when it comes out, I think. Oh. Oh, whoa.
Oh, bonsai tree!
Don't tell anyone I did that. Don't tell anyone.
Okay.
Where am I going? That's secret. Don't tell anyone. Technically, I've hit the goal. Gonna leave it right there. Right? It's the plan. That's the plan. Leave it right there. Just lost like $700. Don't tell anyone. I think we hit the
Okay.
goal.
Yeah, we
Oh,
should
wait,
be
my
good.
lips are sealed.
I've got 14.5 in here.
There's
nice
a
barrel.
giant barrel here that I have to put the card in and then the barrel together.
Okay.
Alright. You guys ready with the barrel?
Okay, don't put it in yet.
Oh,
Okay, now. Okay, put it in now. Put it in now. Put it in now.
Good.
Alright. We can start
Okay,
heading back to
good,
the
good.
ship
Oh,
now.
we have some money.
so much money.
So rich.
Alright, we can start heading back to the ship now.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, let's go.
Let's go.
Following your lead.
Hi.
Hi. Hi. I'm scared. Okay. Uh-oh, where'd they go? Where's Cass and Kiwi?
Oh, I hear him.
Oh, there they are. Hi, Junie. Welcome in. How are you? Where's
Where are you?
Cass?
He's coming.
Oh, I see his flashlight.
Nice.
It's okay, I freaked out a little.
Hey.
Hey,
Hey.
let's go. Look at that.
Big
Oh,
win.
we're so rich.
So rich.
You can get a photon blaster.
That's true.
By the way,
Does he have
someone in my
food?
chat wanted to know who you guys are. Introduce yourselves, guys.
Oh yeah, we've got to do introduction. That's important. Oh, who
Yes.
should who starts?
Where you start?
Me? Okay.
Ladies first.
Oh, okay. Okay. Hello, my name is Fruit. I am a fruit entity of the Backrooms. Welcome. Hello. I play a lot of horror games. I love horror games. I'm playing Silent Hill F2 as well. I know Kimi and Cass are also playing it. So, yeah, hello. Yay!
Yay.
Alright. Now, Gunther, go.
All right. I'm Gunther. I play a ton of looter shooters and horror games and tons of fun stuff with friends, of course. And yeah, that's that's pretty much it.
Yeah, and Gunther is a Borderlands professional.
Yes.
You know, I
Yes.
play the game a little bit or something.
A couple thousand hours, you mean?
Borderlands 4, that game's like pretty alright. I guess.
It's just okay, you know. It's all right.
I definitely wasn't playing it right before this.
Yeah. That's how I met
introduce
Gunther too,
yourself.
through Borderlands. I was playing
Yeah.
Borderlands 2. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Do you guys want to introduce yourselves too for our chats? Me and Gunther's chat?
Yes, I am. Oh, hi. Thank you. I am Cass Wilder,
Thank you for that.
part-time archaeologist, full-time explorer of the ancient world. I'm just a little guy right now.
Just the little guy.
I did not plan on nubbies. Thank you.
I mean, you were just so small on the floor.
Whee!
You can play jump rope with me.
That's true.
Yeah.
You could play jump rope. Alright, Kimmy.
Yeah. My name's Kimi Mana, Queen of Mana Mountain, protector of my mountain, its floors and all its creatures. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah.
I too love the horror games. Even though I'm a chicken.
You are a chicken. You always have to be around.
Yeah. I only feel brave if you're around.
Yay!
Oh, by the
Also-
way,
Yes, go ahead.
speaking of horror, have you seen the updates about Poppy Playtime 5?
Yeah, I have seen it.
I'm so looking forward to it.
Me too. When is it coming out again? Is it coming out this year?
Probably next, actually.
Okay.
Oh, is it?
Probably at the beginning of the year.
Which game?
Ooh, nice.
Poppy Playtime.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, I'm very excited. I played the last chapter, but I didn't play all the chapters before that. But it makes sense. I've been watching other people play it, so it's all good. But yeah,
Kimi
that
and
is.
I are we're still stuck on number 3 because our game kind of crashed.
Oh, not crashed, but it glitched.
Oh.
It glitched, yeah.
Oh no.
Oh, that sucks.
So now we're gonna start over the game.
And by
I
the time we're done
just
with
got to
number
the
3,
feature.
and we're gonna go to number 4, we're gonna see Joey the Dough Man and the doctor.
Oh
The doctor
yeah.
is gonna give her a heart attack.
I'm
Dude,
sure.
the
How
doctor
exciting!
doctor
I mean,
kind of.
what?
Oh, I remember. I just remembered that I had a. I think the doctor's kind of hot.
I need to see what the doctor looks like.
I don't think there's much to him left.
You know, there's
Yeah,
enough.
I'm
You're
looking
not
him up.
wrong. There's enough, exactly. There's enough left. I can make do with it. But
It
yeah,
just
yeah,
looks
yeah.
at him, it's like, I could fix him.
Hey!
What?
Have you guys watched Fooly Cooley?
I don't.
He's Conti.
Wait,
What?
what?
Wait,
He looks like Conti.
Oh.
They said cunty.
just
I was
a-
like, what?
He's a walking.
I was like, that is a description.
computer
Oh,
robot.
by the way,
He
thank
has
you for
a
the follow to
computer
your
for a
face
head.
Rose. Rose.
Easy man.
Thank you, thank you. But yeah, I'm very excited. Very excited, yes.
But yeah, I wouldn't say that Joey is that scary. More like he's more pitiful, if anything. But you like him because he's voiced by Michael Kovac.
True. That
Yeah.
is true. You guys do voice acting stuff too, right?
Yes, we do.
Yeah, that's so cool. Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, yeah, they are very, very amazing voice actors themselves, Cass and Kimi.
Thank you.
I wish I could voice an anime.
I believe.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
no.
believe.
No, put down the gun. Put down the gun.
Where's the gun?
No, I swear.
Oh no.
Only have 39,000.
Gunther, what are you doing?
What needs to be done?
Oh no!
What?
No!
Did he just...
Gunther!
What happened to
Can't
him?
do that!
Wait. Guys, I have an idea.
Okay, go ahead.
Open up the bathroom.
Oh, of course.
Is it a bathroom? Oh my god, it's
He
a
must be
bathroom.
punished for what he's done. Here you go. In you go, Gunther.
Alright, open it up.
Oh, although...
Wait.
Wait,
The
wait,
door is
all the
still
way.
down.
oh, this is kind of hard.
Right.
Okay.
Twirly!
Alright. Flash, somebody flash.
Flush.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
Amazing. How sweet. That's what you get,
Poor
Gunther. Why'd you
guy.
leave us?
Let's put him over here for now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Aw.
Do we need health pack?
I'm good. I have
I think you're
100.
pretty good.
Yeah.
I have 100. Okay.
Wait, where?
Oh, he's gonna need a health pack.
Oh, that's true. He's gonna have 0 health or 1 health.
We're just gonna go ahead and get the big health for him. I
Oh,
am
we sing
nice.
amazing
Grenade,
grace.
rubber ducky.
It's the
gotta get a rubber
respectful way to send them off.
Oh.
I have a good
Oh, there's the
secret
gun.
thank you, Oz. What the heck?
Rubber ducky.
Thank you, I think. If I hit 1,000 followers, I do karaoke, okay? Karaoke.
Yes.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
love to see you do karaoke.
Yeah.
This is so much fun.
Need to practice. Holy crap.
If you ever want to,
Hey.
if you want to do karaoke with us, we'd love to have you.
Ooh, but there's so much pressure. You guys are good at singing. That's a lot of pressure.
Oh, we have to make sure we get the Discord perfectly timed for it.
That's true.
Oh, that's true.
Only thing. I think there's a way to do it. I don't remember.
Or
Mhm.
what if we covered? What if we covered something?
Maybe.
Ooh, that could be fun.
Yeah.
I still have yet to cover something, so yeah, that'll be nice.
Yeah, I covered like a Sonic song like a couple months ago.
Ooh, I don't think I listened to it yet. I gotta listen to it.
I can send you a link sometime.
Yeah.
Drunk karaoke. Drunk karaoke?
Oh my god!
I don't know if I can do that.
Ooh, wait, do you guys
My
drink?
poor liver. I'd love to do that, but my liver.
Same. I just get sleepy when I drink though, so I think I just fall
Me
asleep halfway through.
too.
I get sleepy too.
Yeah. Do you guys have like a favorite drink?
Sake.
Sake? Oh, okay.
I love fruit flavored sake and I love sweet wines.
Same. Yeah, sweet wine's good, or white wine is good too. Sake, dang,
I
that's
always
pretty
like
strong.
actually, a long time ago, when people were, I was actually at the legal age of drinking, and then what happened was that some people asked me out to drink, and I did not have a taste for beer or any of the like stronger stuff like vodka. The vodka's a little bit, but not like brandy or any of the like whiskey flavors, all that kind of stuff. So I thought I'd try sake, and oh my lord, the first time I tried it, it went down my mouth so well. It was like a mellow texture. It was very easy to drink.
Wow, okay. Dang.
I'm not too fond of beer. I like certain kinds. I like Sapporo. I tried that.
Yeah, Sapporo was really good.
I want
Yeah.
to try Asahi too. I heard that it's like a very super dry.
Super dry. Yeah.
But
Yeah,
it's
that's a
like a
classic.
sweet mellow beer. That's what I heard from somebody.
Okay, yeah. Beer is it's too bitter for me. I don't like beer. I went to like a German like festival in Japan once, and they were like
Oktoberfest?
something like that. Yeah. And they were serving beer. It was like really cheap too. It was like 200 yen for like one giant jug of
Oh.
beer, but it was like way
I
too
didn't
bitter
know
for
what
me.
kind of beer you had.
Oh yeah, I don't. Maybe it was a cheap. It was probably a cheap one. I picked whatever was cheapest, but yeah, too bitter. I can drink cider though.
Yeah, beer's not my go-to at all.
Yeah, no. Welcome back. Why'd you leave
Hi.
us?
Oh, living.
Well, I had to make sure that it worked, you know.
Quality
Like,
check.
You know,
What
if
did we
we're
learn?
gonna- it works. It works actually really well.
If it hurts, it works.
Yeah.
True.
You know, some people would be like, shoot at like a can or something, but like, you know, it's all or nothing.
Well, you have the
You win
health
some, you
pack
lose some.
now.
True. You
I
were
appreciate that. I
magnificently
appreciate
pulverized.
the send off in the bathroom. It was quite the ceremony.
Yes. Gotta sing the Amazing Grace. Yes.
We have to baptize you before we can resurrect you.
You know, it
Baptized
seems
in
fair.
the toilet
It seems
water.
fair. I feel like I deserved it. Is there anything else you guys
Is it
want to
just-
buy?
We still have like
Unless you
29K.
want. Oh shoot! What the heck? What are we doing?
Nothing really caught my fancy.
We could buy some
Is it
packs.
just
Did
me
we
or
buy
does beer taste
stamina
like pencil
packs?
shavings? I don't
Yeah.
know. I guess it depends on the beer that you had.
Pencil shavings. I do
the only
agree.
beers I had a Japan beer and I had a I think it was some sort of European beer that I had too. I just tried it. It tastes like pineapple.
Oh.
You tried
Ooh.
it too.
I think it was a very long time ago.
I mean, something your brother let us try.
Oh, yeah. My brother is definitely the alcohol connoisseur of the family.
Yeah.
Oh, we're right at 29K.
I think
Great.
Wait.
What'd you
I'm
put in
sorry. I
there?
tried to sneak something in.
No, do you want the
What'd you
trank
sneak
gun?
in?
You can have the trank gun.
No.
Yeah, take a track gun.
We're getting the drink on.
Oh, okay.
Just in case.
all right.
Yeah.
Fruit. If anyone has it, it should be you. I think you died the least out of all of us.
Dahil, no. I just run too much. I'm a chicken. I'm a chimkin. Jaeger bombs.
Right.
I heard Jaeger bombs are really strong.
I've heard they were really strong.
I don't
They're
think
pretty
they
strong.
can. I've limited at
There's a bunch of others that are,
12%.
like-
I can't
like-
drink anything stronger than 12% alcohol.
That's fair. That's
yeah.
yeah.
Even with sake, it has to be like plum sake diluted in water.
I saw this Halloween themed wine at the store, and it was like 13% alcohol.
Oh, okay.
I think the highest one was like 16%.
This is where again?
I could do that.
When we were shopping the other day with my family.
Oh yeah.
I think
Right.
I don't remember if you walked off somewhere or not, but that's what me and my dad found. Like, oh my god.
I might have overheard you guys.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You're sipping on one? Which one?
What?
On a 1?
Oh, take care of those by the way.
1.5 liter buzzball, 15%. Buzzballs? I've seen those. I don't know if they're good though.
I'm nervous to try those.
Yeah, it
But
feels
the
like they're
packaging's
strong.
fun.
Yeah, it's cute. It's a little ball. Are we going? Or did we do everything? Wait, we didn't do everything yet.
Yeah, you need to take your
Oh,
upgrades.
oh yes. Wait, you sure? Does anybody else want stamina upgrade?
I already took mine.
I think that one's for Kimmy.
Other Kimi?
What's this thing?
Oh, that's the
That's
tranquilizer.
Oh, okay.
No, don't do what Gunther did. We need you.
I'll take one.
What do you mean? This is for you, Fruit.
That one- For me?
Yeah.
Oh shit! Don't point it at me like that.
Yeah, please.
I mean, I pointed at
No, we're not
I
doing
pointed at
Russian
me the
roulette,
last
please.
time.
Spin it around. Spin it around.
Thank you for the hydrate. Hi, Shadow.
Okay, oh, I'm gonna do the honor.
Thank you.
There's chocolate milk buzzball? Is that good?
What?
What?
That sounds delicious.
Good.
Sounds delicious.
It might be good actually. It might be kind of sweet from the chocolate milk.
I remember having a dessert cocktail. It was like with coffee. Didn't realize that was alcohol. I felt so weird afterwards.
What's that Irish coffee?
That was the Parisian drink that we had at the Lithuanian place.
Oh yeah, you're right. The one that I took to your birthday.
Yeah.
Hi, Full Shock. Welcome in. Yeah, there's some coffee alcohol for sure. Yeah. Okay.
Love strawberry chocolate.
Alright, Fruit, you got
So what
this.
am I supposed to do with this? I just...
If you
I
press,
guess
when
just
you're holding it, if you
point
press
to juice.
1,
Oh, nice.
you put it away, so you don't have to hold it out.
Oh, thank you,
the
thank you.
And then you just press 1 again to take it back out.
Oh, that's nice. Thank you.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh. That's a huge sword. Gimme. 11,000. 11,000.
Oh god, we already have it right there.
You can watch it pivot. Right there. Right on.
Got it?
for your who said that?
Probably.
That
Let's put it on the extraction board.
Guys?
Yes.
Come on.
What?
Go in.
Oh,
Go in.
sorry.
Where are we going? Where are we going?
I don't know. I was just looking at the funny things the fruit potion.
Bring
And,
I kind of want to
Lover was
drink
saying.
this. It looks good.
Come on, lover.
Oh,
Oh,
Be very careful with that sword.
oh yeah, that's a big sword.
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back.
I'm doing good, Full Shock. How are you? Thanks for stopping
Do you
by.
want to
We're
take the
just
sword
playing some
off
repo.
and just put the sword in?
Yeah,
Play
but I
some
need help with it.
a repo.
I got it.
This is my last week streaming, and then I'm gonna have 3-week hiatus. I will be in Japan. So I still have 2 more streams though this week, tomorrow and Friday. Welcome in, welcome in. How are you? Strawberry plus chocolate is a good combo. True. What is up with you? Why are you trying to self-destruct all day today?
Did he just?
Nah, that's
Oh.
fine. It doesn't hurt. You can actually use it to launch yourself up.
Oh, that is
Oh
true.
my god.
That's
Yeah.
great.
Sometimes there's stuff.
It will
think
launch me
it's-
that way though.
I got an idea.
I try to remember how you can direct it. I think is it if you crouch and you face the opposite way that you want to go?
No,
No, this
nope.
just keeps sending me the same way.
Let me face the
I'm
side.
back at the ship though.
Nope. Nope. I mean, that would work hypothetically.
Oh, that didn't work.
Actual Japan ramen, the authentic kind. Yeah, they're gonna be yummy. If I do get a chance to eat ramen, I'll be eating
Oh.
tonkatsu though, more than ramen. Oh, and sushi. All right,
We're just gonna have all the good food.
I'm
You know
gonna.
what? I have to say this. Me and Kimi had ramen in Japan, and we have not had ramen in the US since.
Just ruined
just-
it for
It's
you.
just that good over there.
It's just too damn
So
good.
good.
It is good. It's so good.
Everything in America is an imitation.
Even udon in Kyoto is so amazing.
Oh my gosh, I had it in
Right?
Kyoto too.
Yeah, we've been in Kyoto, we've been in Osaka. It was just amazing.
Oh my
The
gosh.
donburi was beautiful.
True. I want takoyaki. Did you have takoyaki?
Yes,
Yeah.
Oh, so good.
it was a must.
Ah,
Takoyaki and okonomiyaki.
so
We have a
good.
huge chest right over here.
Oh my gosh, I'm so hungry now. I'm so hungry, Gunther.
So hungry.
Yeah.
You know what you should have?
What?
Tacos.
Your usual nightly tacos.
Dude, nothing better at 2 a.m. than a taco.
True. True.
Plus Taco Tuesdays.
Let's go.
Perfect. It all just works.
I hear something.
I
Let's
thought
go.
today's Wednesday.
You know, it's Tuesday if you squint.
I hear something. Let's go.
It's a Tuesday
True.
somewhere else. You hear something?
No.
Yeah.
I hear spooky noises.
I thought I was hearing something. I heard
No, wait,
some
that's just my thoughts.
juice.
It's my spooky thoughts. Don't mind me.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that.
Alright, well, I'm gonna keep looking then. Is this a random... I thought this was a toilet for a second. Holy crap. I was like, is there a random toilet just up here? Guys, if there was a toilet here, would you use it? And why? I thought this was a toilet. It looks like a toilet, right? It's like kind of a view, a little bit. Are you going to do Halloween costumes when in Japan? Probably not. I know it's so boring, but most likely not. No. Because I'm going to my grandma's house, so I'll just be chilling at my grandma's house, you know? I'm not gonna do any partying. Udon no noodle, yes. Udon is like a thick white noodle. It's thick white and a little chewy. Tonkatsu and sushi, yeah. I'm so excited for those. I'm eating those for sure. Stuff my face with tonkatsu sushi. From an angle, it does. It's resemble a toilet, but kind of lacking privacy, yeah. a little bit. It's okay. It's okay. You'll get a nice view. That's all that matters. We can't find the next extraction point. Is it this way? Maybe it is this way. Oh yeah, there's a lot of empty rooms here. Whoa! Speed demon. Speed demon. Speed demon. Man, even though I got a stamina upgrade, it feels like I still have no stamina. Oh, those actually loot. Dang. Oh man, there's so much loot. We are so set. We are set for life. Oh god, this is where the extraction point is? Why is that one open though? Koko kana? Yeah. Yeah. Nice view, she says. It is nice view. You can see everyone from above. Lots of square footage, but look at the location. But look at that view. You can't resist that view, right? Right? I sometimes see those like TikTok videos of like the which bathroom you're taking the biggest dump of your life. Which bathroom are you choosing? Video. I like to stare at it at like 3 a.m. in the morning. Be like, which bathroom is the optimal bathroom to take a dump in? And they're like in crazy places where it's like on top of a cliff or like on top of a cloud or something. It's silly. There's a lot of cups here. I forgot I have a gun. Maybe with stamina booster, I guess they don't want to make it too easy for you to escape. Yeah, I guess so. Excuse you? Why excuse you? Whatever there is one of those... Wherever there's one of those fancy toilets, you mean like the bidet ones? The spray water in your butthole? They're pretty nice. I yearn the bidet. I yearn it every day. And it sings to you and stuff. Plays some music. Wipes your butt for you. What's the optimal toilet to use the restroom is a crazy title. What? Did it say that? Optimal toilet to use the restroom. Yeah. Which is the optimal toilet to take a dump? It plays music and does your taxes. Yes, it does your taxes. It polishes your shoes. It gives you positive affirmations. It's a great toilet. How much do bidets cost? I don't know actually. I never looked into how much they cost. I know sometimes they have like attachments, and they can cost like anywhere between $300 to like maybe up to almost 1,000, depending on what you're getting. You can just put on your regular toilet. Yeah. Yeah, toilet does your taxes. Sounds nice.
The toilet does your taxes? What?
Yeah, we were talking about the nice bidet toilets in Japan. And how it sings to you and wipes your butt and gives you positive affirmations.
That's adorable. I mean, we've had like 2 different toilets in the Airbnbs that we were in, and I think one of them
we're gonna have to wait to put this
had a
on.
bidet function.
We already have 7,000.
No, don't put it on yet. Don't put it on yet.
Yeah.
Don't put it on yet.
We gotta loot more.
Okay.
We still gotta get the card over here and stuff.
Yeah. And there's a moat, so we gotta be careful.
A moat?
A moat?
A moat. M-O-A-T. This thing.
This?
Oh.
It's grass.
Oh, it's grass.
I was like, we walked over here. I didn't see
Man,
him.
I guess we learned how to walk on water, huh?
Dude, we are in the magic area. Yeah, I'm
True.
fucking on water.
Vibrant.
Oh, hey, yo.
Bring it closer.
Oh,
Ah!
it's okay.
Yeah, we got this. We'll carry this one.
Wait,
Yeah.
What is this? What's chat saying? Is the
What's chat say?
What did they say?
I'm getting like a. Chat is talking to me.
No, that's you talking. What? Yeah, you're holding the love potion, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so it says, you know, random love things.
Oh, I see. Positive affirmations. Like a toilet in Japan.
Exactly. It all comes full circle.
Yeah, Anubis, and tucks you into bed. Exactly. That'd be nice. Be tucked into
I got
bed.
the thing.
Thank you.
Perfect.
Did you get all the
I
loot?
think, yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
that's pretty good. Yeah, we should probably just turn it
Let's-
in. Or
Let's
no?
bring this over.
Yeah.
Oh,
Which is that one?
Fourth balls.
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 I don't know if we can put this.
If Japanese bands, I got to see Yoasobi as well as Lisa when they. Ooh.
That's the 14,000.
Favorite band? I don't really listen to bands. Oh, I do like this girl group called XG. I listen to their stuff a lot. There's another ball! There's another ball! There's another ball! Do you want to put the other ball in there? There's another ball. I found another ball. Wait, no, there's another ball!
It's already too
It's
late.
too late.
Oh. Okay.
Oh well.
That's
We
okay.
would have had to pull like 2 things off to not get it.
Okay.
Or at 50K. Holy crap.
Ooh, that's good.
All
Yeah,
right.
we can go.
Now we just gotta get back. Oh, alien.
Oh fuck. Not again. Oh god. I don't have a drink.
Oh.
They were showing you.
We gotta run.
Run away.
Just run.
He got me again.
Oh god. Oh god. Brute, there's a lot of things chasing us. Oh.
Oh,
Okay,
hi.
we gotta go.
Oh,
We gotta go.
run,
We gotta go.
run,
Go.
run, get up, we gotta-
Oh god.
I was right there.
Oh no! I'm so sorry. I didn't see. Oh
We got everybody.
Oh,
I need help so bad.
I'm sorry. I just saw the big black thing coming. I was like, no.
Oh, we got large ones.
Okay, I'm getting the large one.
Very nice.
Oh, we're all trying to grab it.
Okay. There you go.
Perfect.
You need another one? We'll
I
do
do.
another one.
Perfect.
Yay!
Oh, what the hell is... Cards? Cannon?
Card
Oh,
cannon!
this thing is pretty cool.
Wow, I gotta read. Hey, Shrimpy, welcome in. Wait, let me go do this thing in the toilet. Hold on, in the bathroom. Don't mind me. Thank you for the raid, Shrimp. Welcome in, Raiders. My name is Fruit Step. I am a fruit entity of the Backrooms. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. Welcome in. How are you guys? How are you, Shrimp? How was the... I saw you playing like a really interesting looking game yesterday and today. How was that? Let me give you a quick shout out. Shrimp. VT. Hi. Yeah, hi. Hilix. Hilix. It looks really interesting. I don't really know what it's about though, but I hope you all had a good time. Welcome in, welcome in. Hi Ark. Hi Vertis. Welcome, welcome. We're just playing some repo with Cass, Kimi, and Gunther. We had a couple good runs. We actually haven't really fully perished yet, which is good. It was a fun, silly, wacky time. Solid shrimp. We don't know what it's about either. That's a mood. That's a mood. You just play a game and you're like, I don't know what's going on, but this is cool. I hope your night's going well. It's going good. It's going good. We had a couple good games so far in Repo. We're making lots of money. 50,000. Wow. But yeah, this is my last week streaming before my 3-week hiatus. I'm going to Japan. I'm going to Japan for 3 weeks. So yeah, I'll be streaming tomorrow and Friday, and after that I'm gone for 3 weeks. So yeah, just enjoying the last few days of stream. Yep. Thank you so much, Shrimp. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a good week. If you need a raid and run, I understand you. You're probably very tired. You deserve all the sleep and all the rest. Thank you so much. Make sure you eat some pickles for me. Yeah, I'm craving the pickles. It's okay, I'll eat some when I come back. But thank you. Also, hi Squiddy, welcome in. Oh wow! Is this the Oz? Oz, thank you so much! Thank you so much for the 5 gifted! I appreciate it. Thank you for gifting to wow. Nibis, Wabusa, Uxam, Arg, and non-binary. Thank you so much! Thank you! Arigato. Arigato. めっちゃ感謝. Arigato. Doing this for fellow Kokona fan. Yeah! We were talking about what like Japanese like bands or groups we like, and we were talking about this group called XG. It's like this all Japanese member, like a global like girl group, and they're very cool. Thank you so much, Oz. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I was too slow. Mom.
Just trying to catch up on stuff. Okay, I think that's good. Yeah, coconut is very cool. Coconut is definitely very cool. I like coconut. His second favorite is probably like... It depends. They're all good. They're all so good. I kind of like Judine though. Judine's also like very pretty. Very cool. She can do anything. Yeah. Thank you. Fellow alphas.
Me too.
It's so tantalizing.
Tumble
It's just...
launch, crouch.
We did it on 3.
Alright.
1.
I've been convinced.
1, 2, 3.
Oh!
Oh my god!
Oh, he's dead!
No! Cass!
You.
Oh
my god, he's dead too!
No! Don't mind this door, guys. It came
Well, it's a
off.
good thing we were already planning on getting you guys 100 health.
True. We got the health packs. They'll be okay.
Is there any upgrades you want for?
Does the stamina ones stack? Do they stack?
I think they do.
I'll just take one. That's good for me. All right. We're not getting this. We're not getting this cannon turret thing.
I don't think we can afford it. It's 48,000.
Okay. What happened to my gun?
It should still be in your inventory, isn't it?
Oh, well, I can't access it right now, so I'll check it later.
Yeah. It might be over here. It might just not have access to it right now.
Alright.
Let's get these
All
guys
good.
back.
All good.
Welcome back!
Okaeri.
It was worth it.
Ta-da!
Alright.
I think we're good.
Alright, let's go.
Yeah, we're
Alright, let's go. Perfect.
Nice. Aw, man. They despawned my door.
Oh, they took your door.
They took my door.
You worked so hard to bring that door all the way over
I
here.
know. I totally did accidentally remove it from the hinge when I opened the bathroom door.
You just don't know your own strength.
Yeah. All that protein
Don't forget
shake.
your stamina.
Oh, yeah. That's true. Thank you. Nice. Nice.
Perfect. Oh, do you have your gun now?
I do.
Ah, perfect.
Please don't shoot.
I
I'm just a little guy.
will
She's
shoot.
like, I'm just a little.
So little. Oh! It looked like a baby. Like a baby. Aw, like a baby.
Hello.
Hello.
Rotate the baby.
I feel precious.
You are.
What do they always say?
Look at
Shake
that.
the baby?
Ah.
Don't say that. They don't say
my God.
that. I don't think. I don't know about that.
Oh, wow! What happened?
I jumped.
Oh.
Oh,
Acrobatic baby.
that was cute.
Star in the making, for real.
The kid who actually voiced the brother, that was the director's son, was it?
The creator's son.
Oh my god.
Nice. Museum.
This is what a vtuber was, I think.
The museum.
Oh.
Oh. Oh. I got a better one. A bigger one. It's five.
Whoa, that is
58,000.
humongous. Oh, I got it. $20,000.
20,000?
20,700.
That'll
Well,
do.
that was easy.
That'll do right
Perfect.
there.
Man, we're really good at this game.
True treasure hunters.
Giant cup.
Oh,
That is a big cup.
What do we do with this? We have to find the next extraction point.
Whoops.
Uh,
Okay.
Oh,
maybe
boy.
set it down somewhere for now and then go look for the extraction point.
Alright,
Put
sounds
this
good.
bag of money in it.
Ah!
Hey,
Hey.
put the money in.
What's the merchandise?
Oh, I got out of the radar. Oh,
Money
shoot. Okay.
inside.
Hold on.
Nope, it doesn't work like that.
Welcome in, Raiders. Hello, Astralis. Welcome in. Thank you so much for the raid. My name is Fruit. I am a fruit entity of the Backrooms. Welcome to my Infinite Gardens. Welcome. Hello. Astralis, okay, let me give you a shout out real quick. We're just playing some Repo. Right now. Wonder if you also came for Repo. Let me see. Oh, it's Blink. Oh no, it's Blink. Oh no, it bugged out. What were you playing? What were you doing? Thank you so much for raiding in. Thank you. We're just playing some Repo right now. I love horror games. As you can see, I'm a Backrooms entity, so I do like to do some spooky things all year round. Halloween all year round here. But thank you so much for the raid. If you need to raid or run, I completely understand. Please go get some rest, drink some water, eat some fruits. I was chilling. Repo is so fun though. Yeah. It's so fun. I've heard they're coming out with an update soon. And maybe in like a few weeks. I'm very excited. Repo is such a goodie. A classical goodie. Thank you. Yeah. Oh my god, Seraphine! Hi, Sarah. Welcome in. How are you? Hey, welcome. Oh, they found the next extraction point. Nice. But yeah, if you need to go rest, please go do that. Oh, thank you so much for the follow, Astralis. Thank you. Let me see. Let me drop you a follow too. Yeah. But thank you so much. Thank you. Yeah, I'm playing Repo right now, but tomorrow and Friday I'll be playing Silent Hill F. So, That'll be fun. That'll be fun. Do you play any horror games, Astralis? Do you like horror games? I know it's kind of like some people like, some people don't. So, you know. Came in with the raid. Hi, Blade Knight. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for coming in. Welcome, welcome.
Whoa.
So sweet. I love horror games. I know. Know you. I love horror games. Ooh, do you have like a favorite one? A favorite horror game? I mean, I'm pretty biased. I like Backrooms games. I like Escape the Backrooms. It's fun. But I also like other games too. Like, Still Wakes the Deep was good. Silent Hill's good so far. I played Silent Hill 2 from 2001. That one was also good. Oh, I'm also playing Cry of Fear. That one's so scary. That's so scary. I just get mad at the devs for making that game the way it is. I'm like, why do you gotta do this? Why you gotta be so spoopy? Multiplayer ones are my favorite. Outlast Trials. Ooh, that's a good one. Backrooms are fun too. Yeah, I love Backrooms. Escape the Backrooms especially. That is my favorite go-to comfort horror game. As for single player, Alien Isolation. Oh yeah, I heard that was really scary. I haven't played it yet. I should probably give it a try. Yeah. But thank you so much for coming in. I'm gonna go catch up with everyone. Make sure they're not dead. Oh gosh.
Alright.
Oh, hello.
There is a frog with a laser beam.
That's just all frog with
Move out of the way,
knives.
Gunther.
You got it.
I don't know. No. That's not what I meant. Ah!
Try.
Oh my
try.
gosh. How do I do this?
You press E.
Alrighty.
What is E? Oh.
Get me.
Nice.
Oh,
She's asleep.
Somebody
Good
roast
job,
it.
good
Somebody
job,
roast
good
that frog.
Guys, I found the extraction point.
Oh, okay.
Let's go.
Nice. Let's go.
This way.
I'll just tranquilize it again. If it moves. Go ahead.
This is gonna be a little steep.
Oh, I got it. I got you. Hold on. It went the other way.
Alright.
Nice.
He's just chilling.
Okay.
He's just chilling. Got the cart.
Yeah, right here.
I think he knows
Thank you for the
better
lurk,
now.
Astralis. Yeah, I gotta lock in.
Be very careful coming in. Hang a left. Hang a left. Right here. Yeah. There's a set of stairs.
Oh, okay.
Very careful.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Oh. It's okay. We didn't need that anyway.
Oh.
It's fine. It's fine.
And it's gonna be right down here.
Get back up there.
Next extraction point.
Just toss it on.
Yeah, good stuff.
There we go.
Perfect. Don't fall in this pit of death right here.
I'm gonna go find the next one.
That would be bad.
Use a bull my. Stay away. That's not good. Upper levels too. Okay. I knew it. Haha, my spidey senses are tingling. Tingly dingling. Found it. Oh, this thing's heavy. Holy crap.
Yeah.
Heavy hand.
Arthur, we need
Yoisho.
I got you.
Would you like a hand?
Huh? Oh, I lost
Got a
it.
beautiful face.
There it is. Thank
Ooh,
you.
that's a big hand.
Big hand.
You are.
Any more loot in this
Oh,
room? Nope. Is that loot?
What's only missing?
This is loot, right? Yeah.
That's something.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Onion.
Dog
What
won't
is
stop.
an onion in
Won't
this?
stop mocking me.
I love that doll. It's my favorite doll. There you go. Nice.
Where is the extraction point again?
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, wah, 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 wah. Oh, wah, 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 wah.
That is a mimic. That is definitely a mimic.
It's cute. It's silly.
Oh,
Little guy, just like all of us.
I might have found something worth a lot of money.
Well, where are you? Upstairs?
Yeah, I'm all the way at the top. Is this thing worth anything?
There's another loot right there.
Oh, never mind. It's not worth anything.
What?
Oh, there's something.
It's
I
not
wanna
worth
see.
anything.
Oh, 500.
Where are you? Uh-oh.
I thought there was a big thing up here, but I thought I could grab that, but I guess I can't.
Yeah. I don't know what the point of that is.
That makes a lot of
Not
noise.
loot. Hi, Bunny Cookie-san. Konnichiwa.
I think that's everything. There's
There's a block.
Really gotta hand it. Yeah, you really gotta hand it over.
hell yeah.
A real hand.
Oh, sorry.
Hey, what happened?
I whacked him with the block.
It's fine. I've got a hard
Very
stone.
nice. Thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. We're really close to 700 now. I don't know how many I'm at. Oh man, one more. One more to 700.
Yep.
Thank you. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens.
Nice. You got it.
Nice.
Right. We do have enough money now.
Do you want to look
That's
for
good.
more?
Might as well.
We can keep looking.
I
there
did
any-
find one.
Any rooms we haven't went to yet? Oh yeah, there is.
Kissed O rice.
Frogman,
It's a
frogman.
Oh.
What?
Oh my
fuck.
gosh.
Oh, there's like
Just need
3
to-
monsters in there.
What?
Oh, we could just go to get the money.
Get the money, let's go.
Get the money.
Get the money.
Get the money.
Hey, let's go.
Nice shit, thank you. My Apex skills coming into handy here. I lost my gun. I lost it. Never mind.
You okay, dear friend?
I lost the. I don't know. It laser beamed my gun and it's gone.
Oh no, we lost the gun.
Oh
It's okay.
no.
Wait. Oh, hello.
Oh. I got the gun.
Oh, there's an invisible man here. Dr. Jack Griffin. Jack Griffin. No. There's an Enderman on our ship.
On the ship?
There's an Enderman. I saw it at least.
No.
Maybe not for other
Okay.
people.
No.
Everybody in?
I
Yep.
hate those
Yeah.
things.
Oh, it's gone now. Oh, thank goodness.
Oh god, the
Go.
oh.
Oh, thank God.
We did it!
You saw him jumping
Oh
up
my
to the ship
God.
too.
Oh. Mm.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, that was close.
Yeah.
Oh,
Got a lot of money.
true.
A little less than last time, though.
Huh.
We don't need any health packs.
That is good.
Extraction tracker.
There you go.
Ooh. This is a grenade.
Bolt zap. Bolt zap. Oh!
Oh!
Stop it!
I'm sorry. Ow! Fruit with a frying pan.
Oh, speed.
Ah, I deserve that. That's
No.
fine.
I want.
Just felt like
I was
swinging it
standing
around.
there.
Let's see this.
No, don't stay there. What are you doing there?
Help me.
Don't stay.
Tumble on top, please.
Hey guys, catch.
What?
Oh, did you turn it
You
on?
gotta turn it on.
Yeah.
Bro.
Okay, take two. Catch.
Yeah, how do you get smaller? I like this. I forgot Q.
Health upgrade.
I guess it's time for payback.
You know
Oh,
what? I
no.
deserve it.
You okay?
Uh-oh. Wait,
Wait, got there.
what are we doing?
Turn it on. Line
No!
it
No!
up.
Worth.
Word. Ah.
Oh no. Oh no. Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
Uh-oh.
Oh no. Not again. Not again. Ah, how about you?
Oh, that's true. Cass hasn't had their turn yet. Nice.
I'm a dirty little boy.
Oh, you took the lid off.
I broke
You
it.
broke it. That's yours.
Oh.
There you go.
Oh no. No more swirlies.
No more.
This needs to go on the ship.
Yeah.
A's bridge. Ooh, it extends.
Wait, good. Did you have the gun?
Away.
I can't take it out.
Oh, no worries.
But
No
I do
worries.
still have
I don't know
it,
if we
yeah.
gotta charge it. You wanna buy crystals?
Wow.
We do have one crystal on the ship, but we could buy. we got
That's
plenty of
probably
money.
Lunch.
Fine. We probably don't need it.
Okay.
It's okay.
Oh, this one's just a regular mate.
Get the knife, a classic. What?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
God, they're vandalizing property.
I already broke it. What if I break it a little more?
just completely break it. Why not?
Yeah, I'll just throw a grenade at
You
it.
sound
Might
like
as well.
you sound like someone from Portland, Oregon. Who are you talking about?
Portland, Oregon. I've heard you can drink their tap water. Clean
Yeah.
water. Boink, boink.
Yeah.
Alright, does everybody have their own...
I
Oh.
What?
Oh!
Oh, look at it! I've been impaled. This thing.
It went to the side. It's okay. Oh, is it right?
There was a...
Dude, that thing flew at me.
Yeah, that's it.
Gave me a concussion.
My bad.
It's okay.
There we go.
All right, perfect.
Nice.
Yay! Do it.
Boink. Bum bum bum. Womp womp. Womp womp. Nice.
What did I have?
I think.
I'll be right back.
Yeah, go ahead.
Alright.
I was gonna say this will probably be my last round, but
Okay.
Oh, no worries.
yeah, I have work tomorrow.
Here's your gun fruit.
Oh, thank you. You sure you don't want it?
Nah,
Oh,
you were doing a
yeah,
great job
I
with
think
it.
Cass had. Hold on.
Okay.
Cass had the strength one.
I think it's this one, right? This one right here. This is Cassie's.
The strength,
crossbow?
Yeah, crossbow.
I'm grabbing it for him.
Okay. Well,
Perfect.
Oh, okay, yeah, we're good.
Mama.
Look at him.
You guys are really tall.
Gonna put you up here. Don't drop the baby.
Don't let me fall. Don't let me fall.
Don't drop the baby. I had to get you up there. What the heck? Yeesh.
There. I have
There.
that.
Perfect.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Gonna put it up. Put Cass up there with Gunther.
Oh, put him up there.
Have a little window date.
We're just a couple boys hanging out.
Yeah.
You're just rolling.
Oh, good. He settled down. Got comfy.
Two peas in a pod. Oh, no, you rolled off. Oh no. Didn't this game have expressions? Oh, does it not have expressions?
It does.
Yeah,
it does.
I think it's the number
it's-
keys.
The numbers.
Am I doing it?
Oh, you are doing it. I can't do
Oh,
it for
now
some
I'm
reason.
sad. How do I? Oh, now I'm angry.
Well,
Sad. Is it 5, 6, 7,
Smells like
8? Oh, now my eyes are closed.
smells like apples. Green apples.
Oh,
Oh,
I'm
you should
really
roll.
scared.
oh my.
I'm
What
very
beautiful, what
wide-eyed.
beautiful eyes you have.
What did you say?
It was a crisis. It was
What a
averted.
beautiful eyes.
Oh. I don't
Oh.
trust you.
Oh my.
I love them.
Oh,
Pat it back.
man.
So
Oh,
sad.
You like where we planted you?
What?
Oh no.
Oh.
Put you in the
Am I
window.
your carry-on?
Yeah.
Carry on.
It's okay.
It's so small.
It's
Oh.
okay.
Aw, it's
I'm
okay.
just small, sad eyes. Oh.
Aw.
I'm trying to have you go up in the air. Wee!
Oh, boy.
I hit myself.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay. Ready?
Alright.
Oh,
Send us in.
Alright.
Oh,
I gave you your
Oh,
strength upgrade.
Where's
I
that?
need to
I gave
put
you.
this in my inventory.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it.
Alright.
Perfect.
Nice. Right.
Thank you.
Na-na-na-na.
Ah. Head to my
Oh, there's a
manor.
here.
Oh gosh, is this a place with a shotgun guy?
Probably.
Yeah.
It is.
Ah. Truck healer now restores 35 health. Monsters are now harder to knock down with valuables?
What?
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
That was too many words I don't understand. So I'm just not gonna worry about it.
That's how I filed my taxes too. Don't worry.
Real.
Too many words.
Too-
Let's just not do this.
Oh, hey, there's a pit of death right here.
Yes, let's not go into the pit of death.
Don't fall in there. That'd be bad. That'd be a bad start.
When trying to get the cart.
Here, nothing in here. Is there anything in here? Maybe. Maybe.
We get anything?
There's something. Diamond?
Diamond?
Diamond? Oh, diamond!
It's a diamond.
It's a diamond.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay, it's okay, it's okay. Ah! Ah! It's okay. It's alright. So that
I'm so sorry.
it's okay. It's all good. It's all good.
Divers are supposed to be unbreakable. Oh shit.
Oh. 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 I died.
This is very not skibbity. Wait, I have a clear shot. I don't.
I'm gonna go. I don't. You guys figure out where I am.
Wait, are you dead? Fuck.
I am down.
Oh, yeah, forgot you.
Cerise.
Oh shit. No! You fucker. Hold on. So, bad news. The gnomes got our valuables.
Oh no! The gnome.
Yeah.
It's
The
okay.
freaking gnomes.
The gnomes. You.
Is that a rhino?
Yeah, it's a rhino.
Oh, there's another one right up there.
Oh shoot, that's true. That's okay. That's okay. Only $100.
That's good.
That's good. That's good. I think one person needs to be.
Yes.
Shoot him in the face. I think they have less resistance. I mean, they have more resistance. Nice. This might be really hard to get up the stairs.
Hi. I was ready to go to the downstairs. They're trying to. God.
Be careful, be careful, be careful. There's a hole here. Okay.
I mean, I guess.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
I think it's good. brother died. I see his head. I'm gonna put it in here. Bah. Nice. Nice. Shoot, we still need 4,000.
Damn it. Okay. We need to explore some rooms. Yeah.
Nothing. Okay. Oh. I don't hope this or I know, but it's gonna be hard.
Oh. Gotcha. Be very careful.
Very careful. Nice. Gotta get it all the way in. I think, yeah. Nice. Teamwork.
Let's get involved.
Yeah. Let's
Nice.
go.
High five.
Yeah. High five. Wow. We did it. Yay.
Yo, great job.
Wow.
Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ah, so scary.
Oh my. That was.
All right. Only 2 more.
More.
Two more extraction points.
Okay. Hey, watch out for big, scary, hungry heads.
Yeah.
Yes. Lesson learned.
They're
Baby. There's a baby. There's a baby.
This is a baby. Fuck.
What do I do with the baby? What do I do with it?
Don't touch the baby.
Wait, there's a baby?
What do you do with the
there's a
baby? Yeah, eat him. Eat him. Oh, I took the money.
Eat him.
Little shit.
Eat him.
Hold himself.
Got him.
Oh.
He's
Oh,
dead.
nice. Nice. Okay. Oh, nice.
Well,
Okay.
this is worth 4,000.
Oh, it's quite
Oh,
good.
nice. Okay, cool.
All right, success.
Makes up for all the money we lost. That was better than I thought it would.
I mean, we got 4 grand for killing it. So.
Why are all these doors open? Why are they all open? Found it. I found it. But why are they all open? Sus. Why are they all open? What the heck? Nice. What is that? Yeah.
Hi.
Hi. I was hearing sounds in my head, but I don't know what it was.
don't know.
Trying to help this TV up. Thank you.
Yeah, got it.
What?
1 second. Let me. There we go.
Okay, nice. Wow. Okay, nice.
Really shut up.
Yoisho. Nice. Good job. We did it.
Jump.
Oh,
Okay, where else do we need to go?
Sorry, stretching.
Hi.
Hi.
hello.
Okay, there's gonna be a staircase up there.
Okay.
I will let them do that.
Oh.
The
You just need to
room-
find
here?
a bunch more money.
A little bit more money.
Oh, scary basement. Nothing terrible can happen.
Nothing can possibly happen in this basement. Okay, they just need a little bit more. Nice.
We have health to spare.
Kimmy?
Yeah.
There you go.
Thank you.
You need more?
I'm
I'd
only
like
at
to-
21.
Here. Hold still.
Okay, just a little bit more.
That's good. Thank you.
Mhm.
Oh.
Oh,
Fruit, there
nice.
was two more
Oh,
items down
perfect.
there.
Okay,
Perfect. Do you need help with that?
Yeah, if you want.
wonder where got the wait. Where they got to go? What could possibly go wrong in Sir Jump Scare here? That do be the vibe of this game. What could possibly go wrong? And then a giant head chases you. Oh, they already hit the thing. Maybe just go find the next extraction then. I don't want to go in there. Scary stuff in there. Can we go upstairs? Oh, there's nothing here. That was already no! No! I died! They won't know where I am either. It's okay. I believe they'll bring this to victory.
Yes.
Oh gosh. I think that is where I was killed,
Oh.
kind of. Oh no, Kiwi!
Oh no.
Oh
I
no!
popped like a pimple.
Oh, pimple.
I didn't even see where he was. I just heard it.
Oh, there you are, Gunther.
Hi. Oh no.
Pick me up.
Well, that's not good.
Thank you.
That is not good.
Wow.
Where the fuck is it?
Where'd you die?
Let's go through here.
Me?
Yeah.
I died somewhere I don't remember, like it was like
This is like 6,000.
it felt like I was in the grass, to be honest. I don't remember. But the shock was so great I don't remember. Oh no!
God damn it!
Oh,
Oh,
no.
God, we're so close.
We're so close.
They're still alive.
I can bring the cart.
Got this. 1
You can't-
HP in a dream.
But it's very close by. I know it's close by.
Oh god.
Oh.
Is that the gun is somewhere over here?
Do I lose my items if I die?
I don't know. Maybe.
Ah.
Oh, good. Oh well. Self-defense.
Oh, perfect.
Oh, okay, nice.
Oh,
He's armed.
Okay, so, These are like
Okay.
14,000, I think, right now.
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
This gotta be so heavy.
Oh no, the TV's gonna be too hard.
lift
He's
with
not
your
gonna-
legs.
He's
It's
not
gonna
gonna
be-
be able to do it.
Yeah, it's gonna be too
He
heavy.
can't do it.
Oh, I don't think that's happening.
Get smaller
Yeah.
things. Get smaller
Maybe.
things.
Hang on. Maybe. This
No,
over
you
here.
can't.
Rank
Oh.
it up the stairs a
Oh.
little bit.
Using brain, okay. Big brain.
You can't be in one place for too long, though.
Well,
God, I'm not making any
Come on,
progress
Come
on
on,
this.
come on, come on.
I'll come back for you, television.
Just go ahead. It's
yeah,
okay.
just go, Gunther. Just
Okay,
go.
so here's the thing. Cass knew where the last attraction was.
Yeah. I know it was around there. It's in a
So I
long
guess now
hallway.
I'm gonna find it. I'm gonna have to find it.
I'm so sorry, Gunther.
Yeah, that's worth 1,000 at least. Only like 10k more.
Ah.
I think he went this way to find it. I'm also on 1 HP.
Oh,
no! Not,
no.
I can't afford to
No,
lose
the
money.
good news.
Stop it.
Wait,
Ah,
need a dream.
damn it,
Oh, I'm just
ah.
gonna get murdered by these. No. Brain, now is not the time.
The train.
Hmm,
Oh. Okay, that was
Okay, so
pretty
that
good.
was
Well-
not great.
that worked.
I think.
Well, it could have been
I
worse.
had to
Yeah, it could've been
guess.
worse.
I was a betting man.
Is he
I'd
going the
say
right
this
way?
I don't know. I need access to the map.
Is this the old extraction point?
Oh my god, there's a piano here. Okay, it's
Or maybe
not.
not, maybe not. This
It
is
was
new.
not this way. Pick this up. Get in there. Get the fuck in there.
So he's taking the scenic route.
Okay. Well, there's a
Oh, he's
piano
got-
with
he's
34
got-
grand
he's
here.
got
I
it.
don't think
34
I
grand!
do
Wow.
about that,
That is a big piano.
but
Oh.
if I can't see the scary things, they can't hurt me. I really thought it was
That's
going
what
to
the
it
be
be?
spirit.
Oh no, that's what happened to me.
I almost got to run around and try and think.
Oh.
Sorry, I wish I could access the map.
It's over here. You already over here? Okay, well that's a vase. Oh, is that it? Oh, it's over there.
It's gotta be it.
Oh no.
Yes, yes, yes!
No. Gunther carrying.
Got
Oh,
it.
thank goodness.
Okay. Okay, team, we got this.
We got this.
Yeah, we got this.
Oh, this is actually right by television. I think there was like 5 grand in the cart.
There's 5 grand in the cart.
行きましょ
Before the gnome attack or
Dragon.
before?
Well, that's
like-
not gonna work out.
う. Uh-oh.
Just go. Just go.
What is that?
That's a TV.
Oh, that's a TV.
Up there, you-
Oh.
I don't care if you lose money.
Oh no, behind Gunther.
Okay. Now it's just a giant
Maybe it's gonna be fine.
staircase.
Be fine.
You get it up the staircase.
Gonna lose money, but
Okay, you went the other way. Oh my gosh.
come on. No, just back down. Get up there, you. Okay.
You can do this. We believe.
You got this.
I need your money. Come on.
Oh, Gunther.
Oh my god.
Come on.
Object.
The pressure.
Is it moving?
No.
I'm scared to let it go.
Keep
Is there to push
going.
it?
Is everyone else dead? Yeah.
Fighto.
Oh.
Oh.
Somebody.
It's not
Aw.
worth it. It's not worth it.
Somebody.
TV might be a pipe dream.
It's a pipe dream.
Oh.
Yeah, just let it slide. It's fine.
Oh, but
Dun, 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 dun,
he's onto something.
dun, 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 dun,
Yeah, yeah,
dun.
yeah.
It's losing value, but it's getting up there.
It's good.
Whoa. Got their big brain.
Let's go.
Uh-oh, it's stuck on the wall.
There.
Oh, no.
Oh, come on. This is
Oh, it's
standing
so
up on your
close. Maybe we can push it with his body or something.
No.
Ah!
No, 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 no.
Not worth it.
Yeah. It was a good try, though.
Oh, this is over 3,000.
I could probably make up for it. Probably.
Okay.
7.
Oh god.
Oh.
We're not gonna make it.
Is everybody else tensed up right now?
Let's work on getting the car over here.
Get the
I
car.
think I've left it. Yeah, over there. You trip the head. Real. It's pure strategy. Okay.
What is that?
Okay. Come on, go back.
Oh,
We're
yeah.
just going for a nice little stroll.
Thank
Me
you.
and all my friends. Just a nice casual stroll.
A nice casual stroll.
Just a nice. Yeah, there's no monsters.
Nothing to worry about.
Nothing to worry about.
Everything's
right?
A-okay. Isn't that right, friends? I think you
Yeah.
agree with me.
Positivity
Yeah.
is key in this
Not very
job.
talkative at the moment, but that's okay.
True. Positivity.
You're talking, you just can't hear us. With you all the way, Gunther.
We believe in you, Gunther.
Good here.
Good God.
He's gonna get up the stairs.
Can you get it?
Are you serious?
We have to carry it one by one.
Kidding me.
He has to break. He has to break it.
He has to break.
There, it's
Push the cart
broken.
back a little bit.
I think.
No, it's still got 100 more.
I
Break
hate
it.
this.
Just break it. Just
Just
break
break the
it.
TV. Just
Break
break
the
it.
TV.
Straight, nice.
Yeah, let's go.
Perfect. And now the mom.
I hope
Yeah.
TV is no longer of my concern. Okay. How much is
It was
this?
all for the greater good.
Okay,
Pretty
okay.
good.
Only like 5,000 more.
He's got this, he got this. Just gotta find one item worth
Got it,
5,000.
he's got it. That's
okay.
not heavy.
Yes.
If only I had a $6,000 television that I put it there. Crazy. Okay.
Oh God. Does the
Money.
jump make noise?
I don't think
Anywhere
so.
else? I don't know if there's enough money.
Maybe not.
I hope not.
I mean, I know where there's a $34,000 piano, but
Oh,
oh, hey, look, it's the
That might be a bit of a stretch.
oh, you found the weapon.
Got the weapon.
Nice.
Come on.
Anything down
Did
here?
you sell your own weapons?
I think they checked out pretty
Sell?
much everything down
I don't think so. I don't think you can sell your own
No.
items or, yeah, weapons.
It's also used. No.
Completely?
Not completely. Like if it were to sell,
I
it's
already
used.
went all the way
It'd
up
be cheaper.
there.
Ah, wow, okay.
Anything in there?
Nothing. No.
Oh god.
The piano might be the only thing left,
Oh God.
but I
There's no more
doubt I
loot
can
left.
get
You
this
didn't look in the
piano up those
cabinet.
stairs.
Oh no.
okay, here's the plan. What if he actually took the piano? I mean, yes, it's going to lose value. But as long as it stays above 500, 5,000,
No, but there's
it'll be
2,000.
golden.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if you can get it up the stairs.
Yeah, that's true.
I feel a little hard.
Wait. Jan.
Oh, Gunther!
Is he gonna self-destruct? He looks like he's
He's contemplating. He's
he's
thinking.
contemplating.
Fuck. All right. I just wanted to check out this.
Oh, he had to take a little moment there.
All right, well, back for the piano then.
Oh,
He's gonna take a chance.
There's no way you're
Alright.
gonna get that up that
Lift with your
stairs.
legs.
How is he doing this? It has
It only needs to be worth
wheels,
5,000 by
right?
the time I get it.
maybe.
Right, exactly.
Already stuck on this little lip.
You just gotta push it the other way. There you go.
Get out of there.
Get in there.
Then he has to bring it up the stairs.
Oh.
Somehow this is
I
going better than I would have expected.
That's it's gonna sound like shit, but yeah.
Okay, but if this is the real test, can I get it up here?
Oh god.
If I can't get it up here, then I'm not getting it through. Come on. There's a zero shot I couldn't get the TV up here and I can get the piano there.
That would be crazy. Oh, there's a baby. Oh,
Yeah.
no, there's a
Somebody wants
baby.
hug.
Wait, who wants a hug?
Watch.
Okay. Here,
Wait,
Smosh, come here.
wait.
You want a bear hug?
Child, where are you?
You kill the baby and
I'm
get.
gonna give really tight hugs.
Oh no, I ran away.
There.
Nice, nice. Yes, that is like good money.
Big.
Oh, oh no, there's a there's a head.
Gunter!
Got the.
Right!
Ah!
Oh,
Good
If I had
try.
gotten him into him, it would have been
Oh,
enough money.
It was a good try, Gunther. You
That was a
did
good try.
good.
Oh, I'm sorry, I couldn't put together team.
No,
okay.
it's okay.
Understanding.
oh boy. Dun dun dun. Oh hey!
Ow.
Stop it!
Oh,
What is that? What is that? What is that?
What? How is that possible?
You fall?
Everyone? Oh. Gunther, did I hit?
Here.
for whatever. Yeah, whatever.
That was silly.
I'm like not gonna lie. Oh,
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
you're somebody's boy crush.
I'm flattered.
Wow.
I don't think I've ever been anybody's boy crush.
Wow.
I don't know how to feel about that. I feel a little bit happy, honestly.
I think you can wear it like a badge of honor.
Really?
Yeah,
Exactly.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
All right. Well, that was all I can play today. Yeah.
Alright.
It
Yeah,
was
we went a long way.
Oh, I got a raid, okay? Guess I'll stream 30 more minutes. Welcome in, Raiders! Welcome. So many thanks for the raid.
Just one more, at least.
It's pretty late, though.
Yeah.
You guys
Or
can
you do
play, but...
You do got work in the morning, right?
Yeah, I have work tomorrow.
No.
Not a
worries.
problem.
It's okay.
Yeah, but thank you for the raid, Silver. Thank you. We could do one more.
That's fast.
Just one more, yeah.
One fast level.
Okay, one fast. This
One
is like
fast
this is easy
One
level.
fast level.
But thank you so much for the raid. Let me start the game real quick. Yes. Okay. Thank you for the raid, Silver. Welcome in. My name is Fruit. I am a fruit entity of the Backrooms. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. Hello. Here. Shout out to Silver. Thank you. Oh, Pokemon. Nice. Nice. Did you catch any cool Pokemon? Thank you so much. I'm gonna play one more game. Just for you, Silver. I'm just kidding.
Speedrun.
To be honest, I wish I could play more. I really do. But I got this. Dozy, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. Do a quick one.
Should be on the keyboard. Where is it? On the ground.
Nice.
You got it.
More rooms. Here?
Oh.
Oh. Oh. That's a nice setup. Are you watching Moose Fighting
got a
Volume 2?
Oh,
Giant
exactly.
can here.
Oh, you can? Got a little money.
There's a scarecrow lady. There's a lady. I can't run.
Oh shit, I hate that thing.
Oh my gosh, I have 10 health left. Oh my gosh. Oh, thank you.
There you go, fruit.
Thank you.
Oh,
Preference
there's a 3D
ZA.
printer over.
What's the ZA?
Preference ZA's the next game. I think it comes out on Thursday. I think.
Moose Fighting Volume 2 Antler Mania.
Hey.
What?
I love
Is that what
it.
it's called?
Yeah. What the fuck is that?
I tried touching it.
What? Jump scare.
I hate that thing.
I know
my
it does
God.
that.
I think we gotta go through this door.
What was that?
Fuck that thing.
Yeah.
Hey, Silver, if you need to go raid and run, I understand. Please go get some rest. Thank you for the raid. And hello. Dozy, hello. Hi. Welcome in. Come on, Legends CA. Oh, that's what it's called. Oh. Are you gonna play that, Gunther?
I don't know. I don't know if I can. I'd like to, but I don't know if I can justify buying all the stuff for it.
True, they're very expensive.
It's a nice barrel. Oh my god, it's worth so much money.
Oh, perfect.
Nice.
Careful. Just...
Oh. You gotta let go. Okay.
Perfect.
Gunther, get out of there. Gunther, get out of
You guys
there.
can't make me. You can't make me.
No! Gunther!
He's okay.
Oh, you're back.
It's fine. Everything's fine.
So silly.
Cool.
Yeah, I've got a quick little run in. Hey. Are you winning?
That was a baby round.
We won. That was a baby round, yeah. That was a good short round.
It was a nice little speed run.
It was a challenge.
It was a challenge.
It gave us a challenge. We died.
Bill Cipher. Who's Bill Cipher? Are you winning? We did win a
Oh
lot.
my god, I love Bill Cipher.
Who's Bill
Gravity
Cipher?
Falls.
Gravity Falls? Oh.
Yeah.
He's the bad guy.
Ah, okay.
The Illuminati.
Oh, I know lots of things. Lots of things.
Whoa. That was cool.
Thank you.
Wow. Professional.
Stun grenade.
All right. Wilfred, do you got to call it there then?
Long show.
Yeah, I do have to call it. Yeah, it's getting late.
Okay.
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, thank you so much for playing, guys. It was
Oh,
fun.
it was tons of fun.
Thank you
Yeah.
for having us.
Yeah.
so
Thank you for
fun.
joining. Oh gosh, okay. Alright, I'll join in on this.
Yay!
Yay! Nice.
I think there's just one last thing to do.
Oh, of course. Wait, Gunther actually died from that. Alright, we gotta end it. It's a full loop.
There we go.
Alright.
Ready?
Got it.
07 Gunther.
Yeah.
07.
07 Gunther can't even come back to say goodbye. Wait, I guess we can just buy stuff, but yeah. Yeah. Oh, that's something. Oh, Watchbird, thank you so much for the follow. Welcome to the Infinite Gardens. Look at that, I hit 700. Thank you. Thank you.
Let's see. Oh,
Yeah, I do want to raid out if I can. Wait, does he not come back? Oh no!
I got him.
Okay, I was like, no.
I wanted to try and see if it would still work. if the weapon was still in use.
Oh my
Hold on,
gosh.
here.
I need a little
Try this.
something.
Here. That works.
Welcome back.
You know, I really thought that grenade wouldn't just kill me. I thought it.
I thought that too.
I thought we'd all go out. And then I was the only one dead.
It was a good attempt. It was a good try.
Yeah.
I thought it was a team bonding experience, but I guess not.
Yeah. So
I guess we were just a little more resilient, I guess.
I suppose so.
Alrighty.
Alright. Well, this has been tons and tons and tons of fun.
Yeah, it was
Absolutely.
fun.
Thank you so much for having us.
Yeah, thank you
That's
for
so nice.
joining. Yeah, it was fun.
Of course.
Yeah.
Do it again. We still have a lot of games that we want to play, so
Yeah.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Oh, if I can actually share something that I found recently. There's this one demo called Treasure Hunters, which is kind of like an Indiana Jones simulator.
Oh,
So it has
yeah.
the skeletons that you can fight or mummies, and there's also traps that you can disarm. Kind of like a little escape room.
Okay.
Sure. Sounds fun.
I'm down for that.
It's just something in the air, you know?
Yeah. Sounds good.
Otherwise,
sounds good.
there's always Repo. Repo experience.
Repo. True.
Repo never dies.
No. It's a good game. It's a classic.
For sure. For sure.
It is.
Okay. Alright, I think I'm gonna try to read out, but yeah. I guess
Yeah, I think I'm gonna be ending too.
Probably.
yeah.
So- Whoever you want to raid fruit, I'll raid them as well.
Are you guys gonna
I
keep
don't
going?
need to raid. I'm just piggybacking off of Kimmy.
Are you gonna keep
Let me
streaming?
see. I'll see. I should probably end stream in a moment. Hi, Flame Dragon. I came at the end, but hello.
Let's see. I mean, do you want to all raid into the same person, or do you want to just separately raid into?
I can read into the same person. Let me see.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
Sounds fun.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Oh, Natsu's playing Dead by Daylight.
Oh, okay. We can go to Natsu.
Yeah.
I'm down for that. What does that
Let's
sound?
do that.
You good with that, Gunther?
Yeah, sounds
Yeah.
fine to me.
All right, we can raid into Natsu. Was also a friend of ours. Natsu Rose Fire.
Oh, At least read us a bedtime story. You will get that soon. Don't worry. I'll be back tomorrow.
All right. Well, I guess I'll
Oh,
just.
wait, is it tomorrow? Yeah, I'll let you guys know.
Hi. Yeah. Well, thanks for playing. We're just gonna raid into Natsu now. I'm gonna start the raid actually. Oh wait, I don't have a raid message. Fruit.
You
Raid.
can do raid messages?
Oh yeah, I usually do. Sometimes like my mods write it out for me, but when they're not here, I just do
Oh, I see.
whatever. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I'll have to try to learn how to do that, actually.
Yeah, you just gotta think of something and just put it in chat, and then everyone would just copy paste it when they raid in.
Okay, cool.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Give love to Natsu.
How about maybe let me see. I'm not creative. I'm not creative with raid message.
Let's see.
You don't need to do a great message.
A three-way wait, excuse me. Yeah. A three-way raid from three funny people.
You could do that. 3-way raid from 3 funny people.
And a piggybacker.
Piggyback, no. Okay. That's perfect. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
There it is. Okay, everyone, copy paste, copy. Oh, copy. All right, I'm gonna start the raid now. Thank you so much, everyone, for coming.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. And for my chat, I will see you guys tomorrow. All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.